TG, I'll never forget. I got to tell, the folks our origin story because, I had known about you because I trained at Greco gyms for years, but we'd never been formally acquainted or anything like that. I was just a member of the gym. But back then, I just remember, I'm like, I got to do something. And I had all my friends telling me to start this podcast. I started, it's not that deep. I reached out to you, I DM'd you to have you on my show, right? You're like, cool, came on. We did the episode, and then I'll never forget, you called me up one day. You're like, hey, Deep, like, you make videos, right? I had never made a video in my life, TG. But I'm like, of course I make videos. What do you need? Call me again. Deep, you do websites, right, buddy? I'm like, I never made a goddamn website in my life. Of course I make websites. What do you need, bro? I think you called me one more time. You're like, Deep, you do sales, right? I never sold a damn thing in my life. Absolutely. What do you need? And I had that was my first business deal. You gave me my first business deal. Tony Greco, or should I say TG, the man, the myth, the legend. Man, we've come so far, but for people who don't know, you're an absolute legend, bro. You are a 1995 IASCA World Kickboxing Champion, if I remember that correctly. You grew Greco gyms. You're kind of a pioneer in the space of circuit training. You kind of almost invented it and really popularized it. You had 16 gyms at one point. Sold that, started TG, your own brand, all this crazy stuff. 4 years in a row, you have first round draft picks. I think you're one of the best trainers on planet Earth. And so it's an honor to get to sit here with you, but not just as a podcast host, but I consider you a mentor, a friend, a partner. We built some pretty amazing things together, and I'm sitting in the most amazing gym that I remember. You're just a crazy guy. You come up to me one day, you're like, Deep, I'm gonna build this crazy gym outside in my property, and we'll edit in some footage of this spot. But dude, you did it, and we're sitting here, and I'm honored, and I appreciate you, brother.
Oh man, thanks. That was so nice. Holy cow! Thanks for that. But I want to touch base on the circuit training because it's ironic how people used to laugh at me and they're like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm going back like 25 years ago. They're like, he's got like 8 different stations. They're jumping around. And then, 10 years later, everybody's got boutique gyms and everybody's now doing circuit style gyms.
Or this or that.
Yeah, like there's so many. And that is, yeah. And, and I always knew that, listen, I started fitness for the experience and the high. I always tell people after winning my gold medal, I liked the experience of actually training for the gold medal. That was the high. Yes, the gold medal was like an amazing accomplishment.
But that's the outcome.
That's the outcome. But it was the journey there. And it was like, now I understand, like when people run and like, I like that runner's high. And it's like, well, I like that fitness high because you feel so good after you've worked out. And those training sessions back then were actually made me feel even better. You know why? Because they weren't just training. They weren't working out. They were training. You go, what's the difference? When you train, meaning that you go through obstacles, you go through stress adaptation, like you train. It's real. It's not like, I'll do a set, sit down and whatever. Like that, that's work. That's not training. Okay. Training is being 100% dialed in.
I could attest to this.
And you did the training.
Every TG workout I've ever been through in my life. Dude, you are not sitting on your phone texting your girl or doing something during this workout. Like that is an insane training session, and you have to be in it and present and focused, and you can't slip up because it's a lot of single leg loaded crazy movements that's putting your body in this functional position to excel in your sport.
That's right. And the other thing too is it ignites your brain. That's another thing that people don't talk about often during exercise. I see a lot of these exercise and these coaches, and it's like they're great fitness coaches. Like my kind of training has a neurological effect, and you said it best, because when you're working with, you have to throw a dumbbell over your knee and then catch another hand and do a military press. Well, if you're not engaged in that game, in that situation, then that weight's going to drop on your feet and you're going to break your toe.
Yeah.
So it's like any other thing. If you're not focused on in your everyday life, what are you going to do? You're going to hit a wall and you're going to rebound and figure something else out, right? So it has a whole neurological effect on the way your brain thinks during those workouts. I remember when you came here, you were buzzing, like you were in the zone.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean, I usually joke around with you, but you were dialed in, man.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of outcome that it brings out of clients, right?
100%, man. And you've been doing this for a long time. This is not your first rodeo, but one thing that I really appreciate about you, and no one can ever take away from you, is you're a lifelong learner. You know, what was true maybe back in the 90s or the 2000s, how you maybe worked out then, has evolved, has changed, and you're always learning. How do you find the time to keep like constantly fine-tuning the method?
Oh man, the more you learn, the more you earn, right? You know, but you're so right about that. And I always have these obstacles, you know, like with people that just rinse and wash. You know, like a lot of professors, a lot of people that teach this kind of stuff in schools. Not to take a stab, but I'll just give you an example, okay? I mean, you know, the majority of my clients are athletes, and most of them are hockey guys. Well, look at the game of hockey. How fast is it right now? I mean, you know,
There's no
I mean,
faster sport
it's crazy, right? It's so fast where, you know, 30 years ago, these guys were smoking cigarettes in between periods or not even training. So you're trying to tell me that if you incorporate the training methods from before, it would work now? Not a chance. I mean, you could see that. So
It used to be about carb loading before a game. Now you got dudes like
it's just, I just say, look, you know what? If you tested it and you measured it and it works and you could see, then you know what? I'll teach it. And if it's not, I won't. And that's one of the reasons why I throw my stuff online. You know, I tell people that, look, I mean, I'm only doing this based on the research.
Yeah.
And if someone told me, hey, look, you know, jumping off a trampoline 20 times will make you excel faster and you give you leg speed on the ice. We've tested 100,000 people. I don't care. I'll put 100 trampolines in my studio and get you jump off the trampoline. But I'm not just going to throw anything at you like a lot of the people do. They just throw spaghetti on the wall. They have no plan.
Absolutely.
It's nuts. And people buy that. So my job is to educate people through forms like a podcast.
Yeah.
I've been speaking to a lot of associations saying, look, you know what, as a parent, you have a kid, and you know you're busy, you're getting them in the car, you're taking them to the practice, you're taking them to the workout, and all of a sudden, you know, this kid is burnt out, he's, you know, overtraining because he's not doing the right things.
Yeah.
It's frustrating. I take it personally.
It's a lot of wasted effort as well. And what I like about your method and constantly changing and stuff is I've, even in the last 4 years, 5 years knowing you, I mean, I've seen it myself evolve. I've seen it started off with these thick bands that you'd have, and then you'd have guys hold it and do this single leg stuff, right? Now I come in here and I seen you got these bungee cords, and you
That's because they were breaking the bands.
that's a bit
Too strong.
but it's like constantly evolving, not only just the method, but you know, saying, okay, how can I give my, you know, clients the best chance at success? And that's like a small example, but I mean, knock on wood, but like the guys you train don't get injured.
Well, touch wood. You know what?
Like,
And that's the biggest thing that I've seen, Deep, is because, you know, we often used to train a certain way where it's like one tempo. I always tell people, think of buying a standard car and it has 3 gears. You were always in first gear. You never went to third gear. Now what I'm doing is I'm making your experience the capability that you could do first gear, second gear, and third gear. So like you take the time to build that foundation. It takes time. Fitness is a process.
Yeah.
And it's not a quick fix. But once you've accept that and trust it, then it could really work for you. And that's one of the things that I've done. I mean, like, I'm not saying I'm going to bulletproof, make you injury free, but I'll tell you one thing. If you train with me, I could definitely, you know, help you to resist more force so that you don't get injured. Because the only reason why people get injured is because they can't absorb force. If I'm jumping off a box and I can't land properly, I'm going to snap my ankle, my knee, and my hip, and my back, and I'm out of commission. But if I could withstand that when I'm jumping, you know, I can handle it. If I go outside and I accidentally slip and I can't fall on my side because I can't withstand that force, I'm going to break my elbow. So everything is about withstanding force. The more you could resist, the more you could push. And that's what I based a lot of my method and my concept, thanks to our good friend Cal Dietz, who,
Shout out to Cal Dietz.
yeah, and I mean, a lot of research, Dr. Ben Peterson, who's given him a lot of the science behind the triphasic training. That's just a little bit. I've taken that data and added more stuff, like a lot of movement patterns, which is what every, person does every day, right? Like related to what they do. If you're a football player, related to a football player. If you're a hockey player, you're related to a hockey player. If you're a CEO, what is it that you like to do? Play pickleball, the big thing now? Okay, let's relate some of the exercise to pickleball. But we all know that you got to work your legs, you got to work your upper body. I mean, legs, did you know that the third most important organ is your thighs and your quads? Because back in the day, I mean, first is your heart, your ticker. Second is your lungs, because you need that to breathe. But third is your thighs. Because back in the day, when you didn't have a phone, you didn't have any form of transportation, people had to get to that destination walking to see their friends, their family. And if you didn't have strong leg muscles, good luck. You're not going anywhere. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. I hadn't thought of that. Because that was your transportation.
That was your transportation.
That was your vehicle. That's insane. I mean, we could sit here and talk about fitness and getting into the science of it all. We could sit here for hours and do that.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think that's going to be the focus of this podcast today. You could talk to a lot of people about that. You know me, I'm an athlete. I love training. I love working out. I love feeling good. I love all of this, everything, right? But ultimately, at the end of the day, as high performer in my own business and my own life, I have to be sharp mentally. And so to me, working out and training and, kickboxing and all this stuff, even yoga, all this stuff that I do, it's to make me feel good, but then also perform well in many areas of life. My question for you is, we talk about withstanding force in the context of an injury in athletics, but how about that for people's mentality? Like, how do you feel about that? Because I know you talk about mindset a lot. For people who are high performers, how do you recommend people start managing stress better? Because I see these doctors and these lawyers and they're like, oh, alcoholics, they're fat, they're overprescribed on medication, they're going through a divorce, their life sucks, but they're supposed to be the high performers, the people we look up to in society. I want to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, you got to work out. You got to move, you got to work out, because you know what? There's a process called neurogenesis. It's the ability of your brain cells to think and regrow. None of that happens unless you move, right? Intense exercise is not about looking good. It's about feeling good. Like you said, you're a CEO of a company and you're overweight and you go to work. I don't give a shit what you do. First of all, your employees are not going to respect you. They're going to say, yeah, because you're giving them a paycheck. But when you leave, they're like, look at the example. Like, they're leading by example. Second of all, if you're that kind of person, you should want to better yourself, because you're going to make better decisions, because you're going to be more on in the game. And a lot of people know how to hide that, but you can't hide that, right? Because you're giving out that energy. When you work out, you feel that energy. You could go into the room, people feel confident because they like themselves. They can look at themselves in the mirror. They see how they look. They see how they feel. They could translate that energy to their staff, right? 100%. And that's so important. But to deal with depression, anxiety, I mean, that is huge, because there's a neurotransmitter called dopamine in the brain. It gets released when you done something to fulfill yourself, like working out, going, wow, I did this. Yes, I've done great. Serotonin levels, we're not going to go through all this different hormones that trigger off, but I always say exercise is the new medicine. There should be a prescription legally now saying everybody has to exercise, right? And then, graduate from like step 1 to 2 to 3. But you talk about a prescription, that should be your number one prescription, is get out there, get your friggin' butt on the bed and go and work out. Watch what happens. Watch the changes in your life.
Yeah, just start with some steps. I mean, I think half the battle, I mean, I could tell you, I have felt it even myself when, even this last month, I was sick. I was out of commission for 4 or 5 days. And like actually did not want to get out of bed, right? But day 2 or 3, I forced myself to go to the gym and still get a little movement. It wasn't a great workout still, but I felt amazing after. But let me tell you, those 2-3 days while I was just in bed feeling sorry for myself, getting up and just like, just groaning. I didn't want to wake up, get out of bed. dude, I started to feel thoughts and feelings of what a depressed person would
Absolutely.
feel. I was just moping around. Usually, dude, my alarm hits, I get up. I just wake up.
Well,
The alarm hit and I'm like, I don't want to get out of bed. I got no motivation. I don't want to do this now. Everyone's texting me already. I was just feeling negative, right? Dude, I forced myself to ignore that voice, go out, even go for a walk, immediately felt better.
well, you ever, you know what? That is so true. You ever notice if you're ever in discussion with people and you see that they have negative vibes, if you ask them, yeah, what do you do for workout? Oh, actually, I don't. Okay. A lot of people, you should actually in the next kind of meetings, because I know you guys meet a lot of people. If you ever have that odd person, and we all have been there, right? Even in a friends group, you'll see you're like, you know what? This guy doesn't work out. She doesn't work out. That's why she feels like that.
Yeah.
Because the minute they start loving themselves
Well,
is the minute they start loving people and loving life.
Yeah.
You can if you don't love yourself, how the heck are you gonna love somebody else? You're faking it. That's BS. And you could feel that energy. You could really, really feel it. And it's crazy.
I come back to Ottawa, and that's when I start to meet like a lot of the people who even I grew up like with or around and whatever. And you ask certain people, even people you might not know or whatever, and you're just like, I know this guy doesn't work out.
Yeah.
I know. I just know you're just a negative vibe. You're bringing me down to your level, and I gotta like fight it.
Gotta fight it.
Swat it away. I'm like, get away from me. I need to keep my vibration high, man.
So much.
And you know, you say that about like in Miami. I can't name one person in my circle who's not taking care of their body, their mind, their business, their relationships, their spirituality. All of this has to be in order. And if it's not, you're probably not my friend.
Yeah.
We probably, we'll grow apart, you know, and like,
Well, you can see it with you guys just coming back sporadically here.
Yeah.
You know, your vibration is so high because you love what you guys are doing.
Love life.
You're in a plate. You love life. You could see it. You could feel it. Like it's so. It's like, you know, and that's why as soon as you change the way you think, you'll change the way you feel. But you need to do that. Now, a lot of people that are listening are going, "Well, that's easy for him to say. He sold a brand. He did this." No, it's not easy for me to say.
not easy.
I was there too. I'm doing it to share that with you. But
Yeah.
if you don't start thinking that, then how the heck are you ever going to change? So what is it that you have to do that? Well, start with some meditation.
Yeah.
You know, take the time to think about who you really truly are and what you really want. And you know what? If you knew that you could have anything that you want and have it as big as you can, what would that look like? You know, how would that feel? What about trying to act like you're already there?
Yeah.
You know, like little things. These are little drills that I tell people. I had recently a player that, you know, has probably not got off to a good start, right? And I'm like, look, you are already in that movie. You were in it. You played that role. So what's the difference? What happened, right? And then backtrack a little bit from that goal. What happened? So the minute you start to think about it, then you could change about it, right? But you have to accept it, acknowledge and adjust. Yes, I accept it. I wasn't that guy. B, I acknowledge I should have been better. Now what do I do?
Yeah.
Okay, so now I played that role in that movie. I'm going to go and react the part, and then everything will take care of itself, right? There's so many good people around. Look at, I bet you right now, if I came to Florida tomorrow and I said, hey guys, listen, I need you guys to introduce me to 5 people that want to train with me. I bet you
Same
could give
day.
me a, there you go.
Same day.
There you go.
Intros in person.
There you go. There you go.
And I want to add to that a little bit, you know, the point of when someone has this crazy goal and then they get knocked off, right? We all have these goals and we all want to do these things and achieve all this crazy stuff in life, right? But man, when I met you, and when I love to tell that story in a little bit, but you know, when I met you, I didn't know anything. Like I was still working for the government. I was still like lost, whatever, right? I hated working a job. I knew I wanted to do some kind of business stuff, but I just didn't know, right? And I had this goal of like, I want to travel the world and I want to, you know, run my own business and I don't want no boss, no one, you know,
Tell you what to do.
Tell me what to do. I don't gotta request time off. And, you know, I did it. And it's hard to like it didn't go the way I thought it would.
Never really
times I was knocked down and maybe I'm like, shit, like maybe I'm not that guy. Maybe, there's times you have the worst month, 2 months in a row, and you're like, fuck, are we done? Are we, and then you'll have 3 months, the biggest months ever. You're like, shit, are we back? Like, and then that happens so many times. You get all these battle scars and you look back and you're like, dude, I did it. Like, I actually did what I said I was gonna do.
Crazy.
It did not look like how I thought it would be at all. But you have to have that presence and that wherewithal to sit down with yourself and be like, yo, this month sucked.
Yeah.
But what are we gonna do about it? Are we gonna mope around? Are we gonna throw in the towel? To me, the only way you lose is if you quit.
That's right. And that's why like a small percentage of the people in the world are successful because they believe in their own ideas and they go through it. You believe it from day one. And you know what? That's just a warrior wound that you could tell someone, like just like you're telling somebody now. And I could witness that because I remember that years ago when you were trying to do this. You were skeptical about leaving the government. I'm like, look, you got to stick to it. You know what I mean? Like stick to one thing, do it well.
Yep.
I know you were off the cuff, then you were deciding whether or not to leave. Yeah, like it's great. But now look at you. Now you're at such a high that if you have to take another risk, you do it like that because you believe you can.
And if I had to restart from zero, I'm so much better now for it. And I do it a million times faster. And I've gone through a lot of mistakes. And I'm like, now, you know what? I'd skip 3 years of hardship. But what I learned.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that a lot of entrepreneurs like to do is share that progress with others. That's why for the young generation right now that wants to get going, I think it's so much easier. People find it harder, but I think with technology and with all the resources around, I mean, you have anybody that can help you with advice and help you get there because there's more successful people, I think, right now that can share that progress with others. Like, look at people you've introduced me just, through communications with your travelings to New York and Miami. It's like, I would have never met these people, right? Years ago, how would you ever find these people? But now, boom, we could do that no problem.
Yep.
So if you want to work, you can accomplish that. If you don't want to work, then obviously, laziness leads to pain, right?
I always say the real risk is taking none, right? And so to me, if I hadn't started a little podcast in my attic apartment in Westboro. You remember that?
Yeah.
You remember coming in my little attic?
I couldn't even find the place. You're like, go down. I'm like, and I'm not a tall guy. Even
barely fit through the door. I'm like, oh yeah, no, this is my studio. No, I meant literally my studio, bro. My studio apartment.
You still have that clip?
Yeah. Oh my God.
We gotta find that.
We gotta find it.
That was insane.
I remember, TG, I'll never forget. I gotta tell, the folks our origin story because, I had known about you because I trained at Greco gyms for years. And I think I'd seen you around a couple times or something like that, but we've never been formally acquainted or anything like that. I was just a member of the gym.
Right.
And it really helped me. It helped transform my body and my mind and got my confidence back and everything. Going from being an athlete, to losing my sport, getting injured, gaining a bunch of weight, and then having to lose it all. I credit your gyms because, look, maybe I didn't have the best diet in the world, but God damn it, did I lose a lot of calories.
You look good though now.
Oh, thank you, brother.
Yeah, really good.
No, but back then I just remember, I'm like, you know what? I got this job. I hate this job, but, it's paying my bills. I got my own little spot now. I just knew that I got to do something. And I had all my friends telling me to start this podcast. So I started It's Not That Deep, and I had no idea what I was doing. I taught myself how to edit the videos, and I YouTubed it, and I had no idea that you had to get lighting. And my first podcast, my camera only recorded 30 minutes. I didn't know it had a limit. So you learn all this stuff and do it. But I remember I reached out to you. I DM'd you to have you on my show, right? You're like, cool, came on. You came with Chris LaCharity. I remember you guys came, and my tiny, I'm telling you guys, like the roof was like this. Like you had to duck or you hit your head.
That was insane.
But we did the episode, and I think you liked it.
It's great.
You had a great vibe. We got some good clips from it. And then I'll never forget, you called me up one day, and I don't know how far after the episode it was. I forgot the timeline, but you're like, hey, Deep, like, you make videos, right? I'd never made a video in my life, TG. But I'm like, of course I make videos. What do you need? Call me again. Deep, you do websites, right, buddy?
I remember.
I'm like, I never made a goddamn website in my life, bro. And then, of course I make websites. What do you need, bro? I think you called me one more time. You're like, Deep, you do sales, right? I never sold a damn thing in my life. Absolutely. What do you need? All right, cool. We're getting on with the chief police in an hour. All right, be ready. You're gonna sell the program. I'm like, what program? What are we talking about here, man? And long story short, during COVID, when the Ottawa police were not able to train in the gyms just like everyone else, we developed a program to sell to the Ottawa police. And they went for it, and it was a no-brainer because you are a world-renowned trainer. You know some of the people at the police department already. They respect you, know you. Mm-hmm. We shot the videos. I called my buddy up. I'm like, hey, man, we actually got this contract. Can you film some videos for me? So you remember Rohit, we did video with him. And I called up my other buddy. I'm like, hey, man, can you make me a website? And I had that was my first business deal. You gave me my first business deal. You thought of me from that one podcast.
Yeah.
You gave me a call. I had no idea what I was doing. I was very green, but I figured it out. And we did that for like 9 months.
Yeah.
9 months.
And it was amazing work too. Like that site was great. We had, the tracking that was good. Remember all the tracking we had, people, the comments.
Mm-hmm.
For the time being, that was amazing.
And it changed my life forever. And that's why I always have so much respect for you. And I will always consider you a mentor, a good friend. You take a chance in me.
Yeah.
I don't know what you saw in this, young.
I saw the potential. I saw the perseverance. And you know what? You also believed in me too, right? Which is, it's a two-way street. I mean, you and Jamie, like even the hockey video, really, that got us started.
Well, that was the next phase.
Yeah, it was the next phase.
So we started off with this program and stuff, and that was great. And then I had connected with Jamie, and that story has been told a million times, so I won't go too much into that.
Just show up.
But basically, show up. And Jamie's behind the camera right now laughing, which I love. But I remember me and Jamie connected, and I remember he met you I had him do some of the videos at one point, and Jamie came in with his janky camera, and was just like, TG is gonna blow up on TikTok.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
We did.
And then that first video, what was it, Jamie? What was it? The first video did.
You got 100K in a second.
Yeah.
150.
It was
First video got 100K. The second video did 150K. And I think we all looked at each other and were like,
what the heck?
I think we're on to something.
Yeah.
And I think you got like 20K followers that first month, and it ended up being like 60, 70,000 in like the next few months.
Yeah.
And we all went out to dinner. Jamie and we cooked up a little proposal to just show up.
Yeah.
We printed out a whole, we're in a presentation and everything. And, we built the TG Pro Hockey Academy, and it did well.
It's still doing. People are loving it. Got tons of results. I mean, we did online calls, and it was so rewarding to see some of these, athletes benefit from us and still are benefit. You should see all the testimonials we get. It's actually insane. I mean, like Jordan was one of the best ones. I mean, I know Jamie spoke to him on the phone because Jamie's also a hockey guy too, and he had all the right hooks. You know what I mean? Yeah, the hooks. Exactly. That's where you know how many times I get teased about when I go out? Hockey players, you want to? It's like everybody I run into is like, hey, there's TikTok Tony.
TikTok Tony. I love
Tony. I was in Montreal a few weeks ago at the Buffalo game. I was with my buddy Randy Robitaille, and I'm like, we got there a little bit late in the first period. I was literally on the aisle. And so, it's the end of the period. People walking up, guys are coming up to me. Hey, man, I love your videos, man. You TikTok. TikTok. Anyways, it's all good. I mean, I just grateful that people are loving some of the stuff and enjoying.
And it's helping a lot of people, man. Not everybody can come to Ottawa and train with you in person. Having a virtual thing, and I know you're working on a lot of stuff right now that we'll definitely talk about. But I just wanted to express my appreciation and gratitude for you, TG. I'm not where I'm at in business, in life today without you.
Thank you.
So I just really want to just absolutely
love you, brother.
I love you, man. Jamie and we absolutely just have so much respect for your craft, you care so much. That's what you can't teach.
Right.
You actually care so much. We were just a very small part of your entire story and whatever. But I'm just happy that we put a damn camera in front of you. I mean, you've always done the legacy media stuff, CTV, going out and making videos and stuff. But I'm happy that we were able to get you on TikTok and get you on some of these other platforms. And now you've run with it. You've got a huge brand following. You can't go anywhere without being recognized. And I want to give you the space to talk a little bit about some of the programs that you're excited about and some of the things going into 2025 now.
Yeah.
We're sitting here on right after Boxing Day, 27th of December, 2024. Going into 2025, what are you most excited about? With all this stuff.
One of the biggest things is that I'm sharing the whole progress with others. I realize that obviously the virtual train is big in the online programs, because unfortunately the way I can scale my program is to offer it online, because I can't, like you said, I mean, I've had a lot of people from the US, a lot of people from Europe. I'm on a lot of morning calls with a bunch of coaches, and the actual philosophy and the brand and the method is being recognized, which is really, rewarding for me, like that I can share this. And then the best results is when I get people giving me testimonials saying, like, my kid's like a lot faster on the ice. He's a lot more explosive. So I have the Pro Hockey Academy still. The program we did is still going strong, because I mean, it's great stuff. I mean, you can't really mimic, the old stuff. A lot of people can imitate it, but they can't duplicate it. That was, the love, the sweat. I mean, Jamie's was researching angles. He's coming up with the hooks, like, and he loved hockey. Like, he loves hockey. So that whole energy and passion, like, got transmitted into the videos, right?
Absolutely.
And that's why it's doing so well. Then we have another in-season program that people can do. We also, what's that? Top Shelf, right? And that's, like, honestly, like 16 of the top most best, workouts that we've had with guys like Claude Giroux, like Jack Quinn. Brant Clark now is playing for the LA Kings, going to be a superstar. There's so many guys. Dean Letourneau, first round pick to Boston. I mean, Henry Muse is going to be another guy who was like third round. It should have went like second or first, in my opinion. But I mean, there's so many guys coming up through the ranks. I got a lot of new young talent. And so that's big. I also, the crazy thing is, a lot of people think I just train athletes, but I don't. I train, majority of my business is mainstream.
Right.
And guess what? I train a lot of women.
Okay.
Which isn't a bad thing, right? So you know what? So one of the things they like is booty. Like, everybody likes the booty. Like, I don't know, in Miami, I'm sure it's all, before it used to be all abs. Like, I want abs like her. I want a ripped stomach. Now it's like, yeah, I need to get my booty bigger. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, so everybody's into booty, and hockey players have the hockey butts. So what I did is I'm designing a program that works 3 different components, right? And it's the fine lines. Like, everybody knows that hip thrust is going to grow your glutes. Everybody knows Bulgarian lunge. We know that. I mean, you could research it. There's so many exercises out there that you can research, but it's the angles that you've got to think about. You see in some of my videos, the linear lateral movement patterns where you have to stabilize those muscles, give you that strong booty. And more important is stuff that prevents injury. So now you not only look good, but you're like kind of like this bulletproof machine. So the booty program is coming up. We also have you're gonna like this one, a fitness self-defense one. This is fighting, because I know you guys box. So this is with my buddy Guy Willette, who's been doing this for a long time, been doing all nice stuff with the Ottawa Senators. So now we're teaching people how to defend themselves, because people don't know how to throw proper punches, which you guys have learned now because you've been doing this stuff. It looks easy. It's not easy, right?
It's not.
So
a lot more to it.
Yeah, so much.
Swinging.
Yeah, exactly. So that's going to be in place. So at least you can get the basic fundamentals. And I'm really excited. So those are the 2 ones that we're launching very, very shortly.
That's awesome,
Yeah.
man. And going into 2025, do you have any type of specific goals with that stuff, or do you have like a number of athletes you want to help? Like, what's At this stage now in TG's career and life, do you set specific goals or do you just want to keep pushing? Like,
No, I
are
set
there
goals. I set
intentions?
goals. I do set goals. I mean, my goals revolve, unfortunately, around time because
Mm,
at this point in my life, like time is very, very important, and I pick and choose who I want to spend my time with, right? Because I can't buy time deep, time's running out, right? So I'm very blessed and grateful that I'm still here. And, because you get a lot of people right now, there's a lot of situations where, they've left the game of life.
yeah.
So the fact that we're here, we got to value that time. And some goals get restricted because they take a little bit more time,
Hmm.
right? So who and how and when I spend my time is really, really important. So that's why, in order to do a lot of these programs, I have to put in that time right now, the present time that I can share it, so it'll always be around, right?
Hmm.
So that's a big thing is time, and then the other one is just contribute a little bit more to getting involved into more health. Like for instance, like we talked about getting people healthier through blood work,
Yeah.
through like peptides.
Yeah.
The new thing we talked about prescription, all these prescribed drugs that are terrible, and people should do the alternative route of more the natural way and more of like
Yeah, why not prevent instead
exactly.
of just try to, react and throw pharmaceuticals and some pill at you, when it's honestly damage has been done and it's a bit too late.
Yeah.
It's such a weird part of this culture is like, wait, why aren't we talking about getting sunlight, getting good whole foods
Right.
and good nutrition, meditating, some kind of spiritual practice. Another one, a big one for me, man, and I'll die on this hill. It's so important. A community, a good community of people, man. Like having people that you can talk to, that you can,
That's gold.
that's
That's gold.
everything, man. I
Yes.
mean, like there's so many people I feel like live in isolation. How can you not get depressed,
Yeah.
if you don't have a good core group of people around you? And that's not to say you need thousands of friends.
Yeah.
But, good 3 and 4 people who are like your
Yeah.
people.
Absolutely. And strength is in numbers. That's one of the other things I like about this kind of establishment here is that everybody uplifts each other.
Yeah.
Right. And if we can do that more and more, we'd have a lot more happier people. Like you said, I
And
noticed
you've
you.
been, sorry to interrupt, you've been doing that for so long, the whole Greco concept of like a social gym.
Yeah.
Where you come in, they make you an espresso, they know your name, you meet other people, God knows a lot of the people, wouldn't mingle quite like that.
Yeah.
So, well, look,
We've built relationships. People have gotten married.
yes. Sorry to interrupt though. What
It's
was
all
I
right.
saying?
No, I'm just saying you're totally right, and that's where like that energy is filtered. It's all recycled, right? I noticed you guys in Florida, you have these events where like
Coffee and chip.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was
The cold
that's
plunge.
that's unbelievable. I
Well,
noticed how happy everybody is there, and your whole mindset has changed. Like it's
well,
fantastic.
that's the thing. Miami gets this reputation, right? Everyone I talk to from back home here in Ottawa, and I tell them Miami, they think I'm just going out to the clubs and I'm ripping lines of cocaine first thing in the morning for breakfast. They think I'm just a degenerate, like, okay, cool, I do go on a yacht quite a bit, but, like that lifestyle, like, sure, you can participate in it for a bit, but that will run out. And
Sure.
and we're here running businesses. Like we have to be sharp.
Yeah.
We have to like you can't do that.
No.
You can go out to the clubs a little bit, you can like have some fun until you look at, the Amex bill
Yeah.
and you're like, maybe not. Maybe I won't do that anymore. And we had our fun when we first moved to Miami, but now I think our definition of fun has changed. And the people that we surround ourselves with is a community. Bro, most of my friends don't drink. They don't even drink alcohol because it's just such a net negative to their life.
Right.
I'm not going to say I'm one of them, I still drink. But I drink a lot less than I used to when I lived here in Ottawa. A lot less.
Yeah, well, your mindset's changed too. You're in an environment where like you're happier. You see the sunlight. You want to get healthier. Like look at how much weight you've lost, and
Yeah,
you're like
man.
you're dialed right in. Right. Chances are, if you were still living here, you probably wouldn't have.
No.
Because it's just
You're a product of your environment and the top 5 people you hang around with. And if you're going and your idea of fun is going, getting beers and watching a football game, I haven't watched a football game in years
Yeah.
until this weekend. I finally watched on Christmas a couple football games. I haven't done any sports betting. I haven't gone to the movies. I haven't played a video game. I had to let all that stuff go, man.
Right.
It's not serving me. But just to round off that point, the Miami community that I found is actually all entrepreneurs, and you have to be doing something, or if not, you can't afford it.
Yeah.
The city will eat you.
Oh, for sure.
Half these people are going and they're doing yoga on the beach at 6 a.m. They're watching sunsets. They're cooking grass-fed steak. You know, everyone's like caring about not just, you know, for vanity. Like, obviously we all want to look good,
of course.
right? But performing well, feeling good. Like, I'm telling you, man, when I came here to Ottawa, I don't feel good, bro.
No,
I just don't feel good here.
you could.
But I know the minute I land in Florida
Huge.
and that humidity hits me, all my
Oh.
aches and pains go. I feel great there, man.
It happens to so many people that leave here. It's actually unreal. You hear that often. You're on a plane, as soon as you land, it's like, what the heck? Oh, my pain's gone away. That's because people hold on to so much tension here.
Yeah.
They're stressed to the nines. They can barely, you know, make ends meet.
Yep.
You know, people are miserable, right? Like, I had a buddy that came and, you know, like I was saying earlier, like he went to Shoppers Drug Mart and he was buying gift certificates.
Yeah.
He had $1,000 US. They were looking at him like he stole the bank or something. They're like, why is everybody miserable here? Like, he was telling me this. I said, oh man, it's just, people are just, they're not in a good state. They're not in a good state.
Let me ask you,
unfortunate.
how do you swat that away, so to speak? You know, that negative energy, I find, I've gotten better at it, but when I'm around someone who's like kind of that, and I have to be around them for whatever reason, kind of just brings me down, and I hate it. And I gotta like shower and get it off.
Yeah.
How do you do it?
Well, I mean, one of the things, the way I do it is I built it up so high now that I could deflect it. And you've done that too. I've noticed that now because you're at a level where you recognize it, so you could deflect it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the biggest thing, that once you get to that level where you recognize, like, look at what you just say, like, man, I see these people, but you learned to deal with it.
Yeah.
You left it. We came here, created some great energy.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing. That's what I've done throughout my whole entire life.
Just into being aware of it.
Being aware of it,
Recognizing
recognize it,
it, yeah.
is the only way you could deflect it. Because if you can recognize it, you can deal with it. You know, you can see it and feel it. I just know now, like, to the point where, and I'm sure you feel it too, to the point where it's like, you're not going to tell that person, but you're just going to leave, you know, and or you're not just going to, like, you know, call them back or hang around with them, because there's just, like they say, it just drags you down. It sucks the life out of you. You know what I mean? So it's terrible.
100%. Bro, TG, I mean, look, I want to do 1 million podcasts with you, all right? This is just number 2 that we've done, but the next one we're going to do in Miami, and you know what we're going to do? We're going to do it on the yacht.
I love it.
All right?
Okay.
You have my word. I'll make that happen. And I want to keep this health conversation going, but this is a special edition of the It's Not That Deep podcast. I wanted to do this episode with my business partner, my brother, Jamie, who's such a big part of everything that we've achieved together. I'm not sitting here in the same capacity without all the effort that he's put in. And I'm not business partners with him if it's not for you. And it's all crazy interconnected. So it only feels right on this special holiday edition of It's Not That Deep for me to sub my boy in. So he's going to do a little bonus part of It's Not That Deep today. But again, I can sit here and talk to you for hours, buddy.
Thank you, brother.
PG.
Love you too, man.
Jamie's going to take over from here, but It's Not That Deep. Shout out your social media before we let you go.
They could go to Tony Greco TG. It's on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, and everywhere else. Tony Greco TG. And my website, tgathletics.com.
tgathletics.com. You heard it here. You want to get that booty in shape? You want to get some athletic training done? You want to work out with one of the greatest trainers of all time? Here's a man right here. And just remember, baby, it's not that deep.
Let's go, TG.
Yes, sir.
So good to
Do it.
see you.
Yeah, I could see you.
It's
You're glowing, man. You're glowing. I watch these videos of all his pull-ups and
I'm done, I think, somewhere around 4,500 pull-ups.
That's insane.
End of last year. So that was like November. And and that was mostly until July. Had a couple months off because I tore my labrum. pickleball accident happens. But going back to what you were just talking about, I think one of the reasons why you're able to kind of like deflect some of that negative energy that a lot of people in Ottawa carry is because of what you were just talking about, which is community.
Right.
So you built this space as a community. So you brought the positivity here. So you were like, I'm going to be the captain of positivity, and I'm going to make sure that every person that comes through that door, if you're coming in with a frown, you're leaving with a smile.
Absolutely.
And if you're coming with a smile, it's going to be bigger.
Yeah.
And I think that's like a big thing that I want to give you credit for, is because you've built a space that makes it easy to put smiles on people's faces.
Right.
And that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and I always think, you know what, in life, everybody remembers what the way they feel, right? I mean, people can throw a good workout together as a trainer, but at the end of the day, how did they feel? And it's like the biggest compliment is when they be like, I feel so good now. Often you have people that are not in such a great mood, and sometimes they don't even want to be here. But when they come here, they're like, thank God I came, because I feel so much better now. So that to me means a lot, when everybody, recycles that energy and brings the good in everybody, because I think everybody's got the good in them. They just got to just bring it out of them, right?
Do you think fitness is more of a physical or a mental benefit?
I think right now, honestly, I think like looking at everything and analyzing everything and researching, I really do think it's more like mental. Because even if you don't like get results like from like just wanting to look the way you want it to look, you still feel better. And I'm only saying that because people have come in and, like, let's say you didn't get your biceps as big as you want them, but you still got biceps. You still feel way better. That feeling way better attitude overcomes the physical part. Them excelling in their job, just having more intimacy with their partners. Like, you hear all these things. It's like, you know what? They make better decisions. The behavior is totally different with these individuals. So I always hear that. Like, I never, I hear it once in a while, like, oh my God, the guy looks good. The girl looks unbelievable. Look at the way her, or whatever body looks like. I always hear now, she feels great. He feels great. He feels unreal. He feels strong. You don't, you hear all the stuff that evolves like the brain. And that's a big thing. And that's why, like, more and more research that's out there, like, I really do believe that medicine, like exercise, is the new medicine. I mean, if you have a headache, go take a walk in the nature, and all about that, I'm sure. And you know what? You'll clear your mind. You'll bring your blood pressure down. You'll start to associate your thoughts with movement. And it's like all of a sudden you feel way, way better. Why? Because you know what? You've taken the time to breathe. You've enjoyed the sounds of nature, a bird chirping, and just the cool breeze, and you just absorbed it. And then all of a sudden it's like, wow, you feel totally different. Where some people would just go to the drugstore and get Tylenol 4 or 5, whatever number that is, and hit 2 or 3, and it's like, I feel better. I mean, a lot of that I think is mental. That's just my opinion, but I see so many other people that have been kind of healed and cured through natural remedies, and one of them is just, enjoying simple walks and doing meditation, injecting that thought and that mental state in your actual DNA, like over and over and over, so it becomes part of who you are.
I found, for me, I started really taking my nutrition more seriously probably 8 to 10 months ago. And I've always been a pretty high energy person to begin with. I feel like my baseline level of energy is certainly above average. Like, I bring a lot of enthusiasm everywhere that I go. But I used to hit this like 2-3 p.m. wall every single day. And I thought that was just like how life is, like, oh, like that's just like the 3 p.m. crash. Like, everybody gets that. And then I started eating, in particular, a lot of grass-fed beef, a lot of pasture-raised eggs, organic avocados and blueberries every single day, supplementing with creatine, colostrum, organ complex, different things like that. And just getting more into the fuel that I'm ingesting. And I noticed that 2 to 3 p.m. crash, absolute myth. I noticed that my ability to articulate and think went to even in another level, which has been amazing. And so what I've realized going through my own health journey, especially in Miami, is I don't think the average person one has health literacy whatsoever. So I feel like
I agree.
they understand that like sugar is bad, but they don't understand how bad it is.
Yeah.
And they think that it's just a physical thing when they don't necessarily realize it's a mental. I think what people also don't understand is until you've actually committed to doing some mindfulness practice, eating the right way, and exercising, it's consumption plus exertion equals performance. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
Until you've done that for a sustainable period of time, you actually have no idea what you're missing out on. People don't even realize, like, oh my God, I actually was so sluggish. I was so, like, maybe operating at a 4 out of 10.
Right.
And it's until you start doing those habits for a sustainable period of time do you start to realize, like, oh my God, like, I've just given myself a performance enhancing drug, which just happens to come in a grass-fed cow. Like it's hilarious, but I feel like most people, they live on this autopilot where they eat what they want, they work out when they can. One thing that is tough about Ottawa is the annual amount of sun hours makes it difficult for people to want to go outside. Their steps go down. They're not getting as much vitamin D, which then they need to supplement in somehow, which they're probably not. And then there's this like vicious cycle. But until I really started focusing on my health, my physical health, I didn't realize how better my brain could be.
Yeah.
And that's been one of the biggest lessons I've learned in all of 2024 is just that simple concept.
Yeah. And you know what? Yeah, I totally agree with you with that. I think people need to be a little bit more educated on that. First of all, I think, you know, you're glowing, which is good because I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah.
You-
Now since you were in town.
yeah, you're
Right.
glowing. So keep up the good work. And you're totally right about people because what happens is their discipline level is only at one level. You know, I always say there's two things that motivate people. One is pain and the other one is pleasure. If you associate your thoughts with those two things, then and take action towards it, and it doesn't have to be much. It could just be a little bit because everybody's different. And you know what? We can help people what to do, but people won't do it. So let's take an example. Let's take for instance, their health right now. People that are listening right now, they're like, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. What is your health level? Let's say it's a 2. Why is it a 2? Or what's a 2? Because you don't make, you know, proper choices when you're eating. So your eating habits are not the greatest. You don't exercise, and you probably look in the mirror and you don't like yourself. Okay, fair enough. Now, let's take it to a 5. How do we get it to a 5? Well, you know what? Maybe I'll start implementing better choices for breakfast. I'm going to research, see what a smoothie really does for me. You know, start doing that. Then you know what? I don't have access to a gym, so I'm going to start taking light walks because I've heard Tony and Jamie talk about walking in nature. Okay, 10 minutes. So now those are the two things. Just do those two things for 3 weeks. Okay, watch what happens. That's going to lead you to a path of making better choices in your other beliefs. And this is one of the drills I tell people is that if you list 3 or 4 core values of what you're trying to do and just do a little bit every day, it's going to start changing the way you think. You know, just people being around the gym, not even working out, changes the way they think. Because when they leave, they're like, you know what, I got to get my butt in there. I feel good. You know, I'm just using this as an example. You know, it's like going into a coffee shop and, you know, trying a different blend of coffee. Like, you know what, I like this coffee. I'm going to try. You automatically change the way you think. And in order to do that, you got to take those actions. So once you do that, then what happens is at the end of the week, you can analyze this data and say, okay, wait a minute. Monday, you know, I didn't feel so well that day because, well, why? I know why. I never took my 10-minute walk. Shit. I didn't have my smoothie. What did I have instead? I didn't have breakfast. How come I didn't walk? Oh, I got stuck answering emails. I didn't take my walk. So you could almost match the way you think and the way you feel. So it's a clear indication that if you start changing the way you think, you'll change the way you feel. Some people have to see it. They have to do this kind of drill. I mean, some people that are driven, A-type personalities, just accept it and they go, right? We know when we've had a bad day because we're around it, but we're around it because now it's a method. Like if I went to a gym right now, I wouldn't need someone to tell me how to work out because I have a pretty good knowledge on how to work out. Same with you, same with Deep, where someone that's new at this doesn't know how to do it. So we know how to switch on and off because we've done it so many times. So that's why people out there that are struggling a little bit, try to do that. It's simple. Just take a sheet of paper, write 4 core values, be honest with yourself where you think that value is right now, and just take actions forward. Doesn't have to be much. I'm talking little changes that make a big difference. And then at the end of the month, analyze it. When I go to work now on a regular basis, I mean, to me, I like to win at work, right? Like this is like, I take it like an athlete. I got to win. What did I do? You know, I did better programs this month. I see better changes in people. Like I got to win at work. That's kind of like my motto. But, you know, people that are out there right now, they got to win at their life, at their success. Like, what does that look like to you? And I think once they start making those changes, I mean, I know I've had a lot of people come back to me and say, look, I just implemented this one thing and it's changed me. That's great. So, you know, you got to decide what that is though, right? And it's people like us that can educate a few people. Like, I mean, look at you guys in Florida right now. You know, your whole mindset's at a whole different level. You're, you know, helping people get better. You've increased your knowledge of health because you're in an environment where you kind of have to look good and feel good. You're around sun and beach and ocean. You're with high-end entrepreneurs, one of the best and most, you know, driven entrepreneurs in the world. You're around that kind of people. So it's contagious. And look at the vibe you guys have brought. Like you turned the volume from 1, or let's say 3, now you're like almost like an 8.5.
Yeah.
That's a big volume, right? Yeah. And people like that. That's why you're attracting people.
Yeah, like I think one of my main principles, and it works in fitness, but just in life in general, is what can I do to reduce friction towards my goals? And what I mean by that is like, when I was living here in Ottawa,
Yeah.
I don't like winter at all. I love outdoor. I love hockey,
Right.
but I love going to the outdoor rink. I'm not going when it's minus 20.
Right.
Like my feet just get too cold. Then
Yeah.
I'm done in 10 minutes, and then I feel like I just wasted my time. I can't even enjoy the thing that I like. And so that gets a bit frustrating in my inner dialogue. But reducing friction looks like, okay, I live in South Beach. I live in one of those beautiful places in the world that has way more annual sun hours. So I go outside in the winter, it's 25 degrees. It's beautiful, it's sunny. I want to go walk. So now I just removed a lot of the friction from not wanting to walk. Now I actually want to go outside.
Right.
I live in a community where every single person has some sort of physical and spiritual and mental practice. I'm going to make friends with them. We're going to do those things together. I started a run club. So now I do sprints every single Saturday.
That's amazing.
One, because I'm the host. I can't skip if I'm the host. I can't be that guy that's like, everyone go to the track and I don't show up now. So I kind of put myself into a position where I reduce the friction of like using discipline. I feel like I use less discipline because I am the host of the event.
That's a good way of putting it.
And so I just figure out all the different ways of like, how can I reduce the barriers that are in front of me to make this as easy as possible, to use the least amount of manpower or discipline,
Yeah.
to then get the same result. And Miami's been a huge part of that. My circle and community that I cultivate down there has been a huge part of that. Deep and I have a health coach, Andres, who's been great. We have a personal trainer, Seth, who's been a massive help.
Also running a business, right?
Yeah.
In control of your income. No.
Yeah, and then running a business that I can leave and go to different countries, go to different cities, and kind of maintain those same habits has been huge. But I think the biggest thing for me is like I remove barriers in my way that I know are the hurdles that I really don't like. Cold weather's a big one. So if I live in a tropical place, I get an average 16,000 steps a day in Miami. I average like 5,000 in Ottawa.
Yeah.
So like,
it's good that you see, those are good statistics that you've measured.
Yeah.
That's made you see that.
if it's not measured, it's no measurement,
That's
no
right.
progress.
That's right.
You taught me that. So I measure, every day I measure my steps. I measure the amount of calories I burn. I measure exactly how many hours of sleep down to like what quality of sleep I'm getting. I know exactly what supplements I take benefit my sleep and raise my HRV, lower my resting heart rate.
Nice.
I know all these habits, and that's not something I was doing before, but part of that is just the sheer exposure that I have to people that have mastered their health and wellness and have passed that on to me. People like yourself.
Yeah.
People like some of the other ones that I mentioned before. It's just a huge, huge thing that is
So that attracted you.
Yeah.
Like, what made you switch? Was it the attraction? Was it the feeling? Was it the energy?
Well, I started getting surrounded by, and I noticed that every one of my friends was in impeccable shape, and they would come to me for content questions. And I think my superpower is my brain and my communication. It's always been that. Like you joked with the hooks and stuff, but like that comes to me, it flows.
Yeah, no,
like
it's
a river.
amazing. Amazing.
And so I would have people come to me for this stuff all the time. And I noticed the more that I ate well and the more that I exercised, it was even sharper.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, I thought it was pretty sharp to begin with. And so as soon as I noticed that the sword I was sharpening, which is my brain, was like really becoming like stronger by doing these habits. I was like, I had this completely wrong. It was, I started working out and exercising and doing these habits for this.
Right.
And to make me a better performer in my business, to make me a better communicator to my friends, to be there as a better listener. I noticed that all the things that make you just a better man
Right.
came on the backside of taking care of me more physically. And then also like, then you get the reward pathways where it's like, you start thinking better. That makes you feel better. That makes you want to do it more.
Right.
So then you create this like cycle.
Right.
And so I feel like I've just done a good job in the last year of being on that wheel. Whereas it's very easy to be on the other end of that wheel. You wake up, you feel a little bit sluggish. Let me hit the snooze button.
Right.
Okay, like let me go start my day slow. Let me just grab a coffee first thing.
Yeah.
Just rewiring all those habits to get into a virtuous cycle. Once you get on that wheel, I think it's hard to stop.
Yeah, because you like what you're seeing, you like the progress, you like the energy. Exactly. Who wouldn't want? That's one of the main things why I think people should try it. Like, you know, to just take little steps every day and just try to better themselves. Like how long do you think it took you to get to that level? How long would you say?
I think the first year in Miami, I didn't really care about what I was eating or how much I was moving. I just cared about business. I was very like, let me get established in America and make my connections. But once I had that and I felt like my bases were covered,
Then instant.
it was like, once I felt like I could have my rent was not an issue. I had enough clients and connections that I could actually call this city a home.
Yeah.
I think it's just basic Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Once I felt like food, shelter, and like my personal safety was taken care of in a new city, in a new country, it was like an instant switch to like, let me move on to self-actualization.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's really good.
And what was funny, I'll tell you this story. So a couple weeks ago, I was at one of those wellness events that you see us at.
Yeah.
But it was a smaller one. There's maybe like 30 people there. And they were doing this little fitness class, and this guy was like a personal trainer. He asks everybody, he's like, what are the 3 phases of movement?
No way.
And no one knew the answer, and I was like, and so I look, and I was like, isometric, eccentric, and concentric. He's like, how'd you know that? I was like, my man TG.
That's hilarious.
So I was like, yeah, I know this stuff. And in my head, I'm like, there's a good to fair chance I actually know more about this concept than him.
Oh, I'm sure.
Even though like he's probably a better trainer than I am, but like I've just spent so much time with you and the athletes, and not just time with you, but time away from you, studying you by making all the pro hockey.
Yeah,
Academy
I
videos.
know.
It's like I don't just experience you and your sessions once. I would experience them multiple times because I'd have to go through them, sit through the footage, edit them. So I've had hundreds of hours of just learning about triphasic training, French contrast.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well,
Oh, that's good.
it was-
you know more than I bet you a lot of the trainers out there.
Probably. I've had
1000%.
this thought many times. Like even when my trainers like doing stuff with me, I'm like, I know why.
Yeah.
Like I know what is happening and why
It's happening.
Yeah. And I think that's also, it goes back to what I was saying a minute ago about health literacy. Like that's a huge part of it where people know that if I lift weights, that is good for me. But it's like, no, having a little bit more of an understanding as to like why. From an anti-aging perspective, there was a study I saw recently people have been talking about. You said that the 3rd most important organ in the body were your thighs. But the number one, like the number one way to tell if somebody's going to have a long lifespan is muscle density
In the
their
legs.
calves.
Yeah. Your legs.
Yeah. And so like that was the number one indicator that they were going to live a long life. Same with racket sports.
Yeah.
Racket sports, the longer people play racket sports, the
brain,
longer they live.
like cognitive
Not-
function. Yeah. Makes sense, right? As you get older, dementia and Alzheimer's, I mean, it keeps your brain sharp, which is pretty cool.
Well, it's kind of like a trifecta. So it hits the brain and the motor neurons by you having to react and be understanding. Then it's also the cardiovascular health, which a lot of people don't necessarily do other than walking as they age.
Yeah.
That's why dogs are so great for people as they age, because it forces them to walk every day.
Yeah.
And then you're also like, you're getting like your stability, you know, still some agility, your ankles, Achilles, your calves, all those sort of things get moved in pickleball or paddle or tennis. I'd play with a 93-year-old man in pickleball.
Wow.
He's my pickleball partner.
That's insane.
This guy named Ivan. And I'm just looking at this guy. He just doesn't miss a ball. Moves terribly.
Yeah.
Moves as well as you think a 93-year-old man would until the ball's within his vicinity.
That's
And then he doesn't miss. And it's like, I see that and I'm like, there's a reason he's 93 and still thinks clearly. Still hasn't had like, would it be neurodegenesis? Like the degeneration, just like there's no signs of him experiencing Alzheimer's or dementia.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
But that second level of understanding, I think, has really helped me in my fitness and wellness journey, because I'm not just thinking of it like, let me get a 6-pack, let me get this great body. Like that's going to happen as a byproduct.
Right.
The benefit is like, oh, I know that I'm setting myself up to be an amazing 75-year-old man that's going to like play sports. That's going to be picking up the grandkids.
And that's the other thing that people should consider is that, you know what, like people age, right? And some people get depressed. People hate getting old. But you got to look at it and say, look, I'm around, I'm actually blessed, right? Because as you get older, you know, you're still in the game. But it's the experiences that you get getting old. Like we all know we're going to end the game sometime, right? But the fact that you're getting older, you should accept that and say, I'm here still. I'm not gone, right? Because the opposite of getting older is you're not here, right? So you should embrace that, but make sure that you're doing the proper things to stay healthy as you keep aging gracefully. And one of them is the fitness. Well, that's why these examples you give me of these 93-year-old guys playing, you know, pickleball, and then, you know, you aging gracefully by the time you're 70. That's the key thing. That's now, I think, should be people's goals that are getting up there to say, how could I stay in the game and stay healthier? And by taking these little steps, that's just another angle. Forget about, you know, looking good. It's about feeling. That's why I said, again, the mental side of thing, I think, is so much more important now, because more and more people have kind of gone past that level of saying, oh, remember back in the day, you used to see the chiseled guy had muscle and fitness and the chiseled girl. Like those days I think are kind of over. Everybody now has enough knowledge that that's a lot of sacrifices where you have to like be very specific with your nutrition, cut this carb, dilute this water. Like we all know how people get there. Take this, you know, illegal substance and so on and so on. Those are like what I call quick fixes, you know, but some people have naturally good genetics and will always kind of be close to that. But it's not really about that. That's the extreme. It's about being able to live your life healthy, that you don't need a walker. You don't need a cane. You still can go down, you know, and go for a walk your dog and not require a cane. Like that's, if you could do that, then you're going, that's what should drive you to get there, is these things, you know, analyze, do a full body analysis. You know, how does my life look like? Okay, what precautions should I take going forward? What injuries that I have that I can treat that, you know, as I get older, I'm not going to need someone to care about me. Like these are things that if you think of these and they cross your mind, you know, you might do something about it, because you're going to associate that thought again with a little bit of pain, right? But I find people are just, they don't prioritize that. That's my biggest goal, is that I want them to understand that that should be your number one priority, you know, is your time and your health. I think besides that, I don't think really truly anything matters, right? People are like, oh, what about your family? Well, you have to be healthy. You have to have time to spend time with your family. So that's why those two necessities are so important, you know, time and health, so important.
It's extending the quality of your years, not necessarily the quantity of them.
Exactly.
A lot of people make it to 85, but they make it to 85 with hip replacement.
Exactly.
And with poor mobility, not being able to put their shoes on, or not being able to like go on a walk around the block. There's one guy in Miami, I don't know if you're familiar with him. One of our good friends, he's actually a client of his name's Mark Sisson.
Okay.
He's, I think, 75 years old, 6-pack, plays ultimate frisbee all the time, sold a company, Primal Kitchen, for like hundreds of millions of dollars. And he is in remarkable shape. And he probably moves better than even Deep and I do.
That's incredible.
You know, and it's so cool to see that not only is he so physically like an absolute specimen, but he's so mentally sharp. He's still building companies. He's still building businesses.
That's unbelievable. That's amazing.
And that's to me true inspiration.
Right.
Like I don't get that inspired by looking at, you know, these famous bodybuilders and, you know, them with their huge muscles. Like, cool. Like I respect the level of discipline that takes.
Right.
I'm inspired by the 75-year-old man that can still play ultimate frisbee, a sport where you need to jump, where you need to pivot, where you need to sprint. There's all these primal movements that are all combined into one simple sport. But he's still able to do that. Maybe not the highest level like 25-year-old kids.
Right.
But he's able to compete. That's really, I think, what should what society should be rewarding more. And people like yourself that are, entering like through their 50s, heading into their 60s, that are still in tip-top shape, still moving those bars faster than most of the athletes that you work with.
Well, that's why we got to get our government to, almost prescribe that. Because I think if we make it, a healthy Canada and a healthy US, then a lot of these people would be more productive. They'll be out of emergency
Healthcare costs go down.
like health, like all that stuff. Like I really do believe that, and I hope that hopefully, with the new government, I mean, I know that in the States they're trying to make not just America great, they're trying to make America healthy. And I'm sure, in Canada it'll be the same thing. So I know, our future Prime Minister Pierre Poilievre, who's a very close friend of mine. I mean, this guy is a workout king and it does incredible stuff. And he finds the time as busy as he is, like if he has the 20 minutes before he's got to catch a flight, he won't waste that 20 minutes. He'll, do a set, boom, get in and go. So, because he realizes that how important healthy is, keeps him sharp mentally and physically. And that's something that we need to instill in Canadians and in Americans, is that let's try it. We got nothing to lose, right? Everything to gain. I mean, we all have these statistics that people that go to gyms feel better. We all have these statistics that people excel at their job, that work out. So if the stats are there, then why not everybody continue? And it doesn't mean they have to train at that extreme level, but it means that they should do something in the form of resistance training, which I think is very important for longevity. And they should also do some cardiovascular activity, whether it's walking, swimming, whatever, racket sport, and combine that too. And then some meditation and some mobility stuff. And I think that's the secret recipe. And, hopefully, like I said, we'll keep that healthcare costs low. We'll keep people out of pharmacies and out of, prescribed drugs and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. I think the fundamental understanding that I think most people need to grasp is that no amount of exercise is insignificant.
Yeah.
If all you have is like 10 to 15 minutes, just go on a walk. Just that exercise alone is so good for the brain.
Yeah.
It reactivates you. If I feel sleepy, sluggish, tired, the second I leave my house, I go walk around my neighborhood, all of a sudden,
boom,
it's like I was a battery that was just charged up.
Yeah.
But I think people think that you need to have a gym like this,
No.
all the fancy equipment, a trainer. No. Start with whatever is accessible to you.
Yeah.
If that's lunges, little like squats, like something, and then just have the discipline and the habits, and then get into that virtuous cycle. That's everything.
I let people, some of my students do this. I say, look, first thing in the morning, you wake up, you do 10 push-ups. That's a Monday. Tuesday, you do the same. Wednesday, you do the same. Thursday, at the end of the 5 days, you got, good 50 push-ups. You talked about the quality, not the quantity, right? Good quality push-ups. So at the end of the week, right, you got these 50 push-ups. Next week, you got another 50, another 50. You will see how, just doing a push-up is going to develop your triceps, your pectoral muscles. It's going to make your back stronger, your abdominals stabilize way, way better. Just that one exercise, only 10. It'll take you less than 10 seconds to do it, right? First thing in the morning, boom. It'll also ignite your brain, or put that miracle grow into your brain right off the bat to do something. They did these studies in Europe where they had these kids push their chair back and just, they were on their computer and they were doing work, push their chair back, do jumping jacks for like 15 seconds, squats 15 seconds, boom, they were back engaged, more alert, more ready to learn. This is the kind of stuff that people need to do, even in their regular work habits where they always working behind a desk. They came for a little while, they were standing up working. Okay, that's one step. What about trying some squats? What about trying some lunges? So they're getting there, but I mean, they're still not there yet. And I think those little changes would make a big difference. Just that alone, like I said, you don't need to go to a fancy place like this. I mean, you could just do this in the form of your own home.
Yeah. TG, I feel like we could talk about these subjects for hours and hours. I have a Sweden, Kazakhstan game.
Nice.
Sue.
Nice.
So I will wrap this up. But Tony, you've changed not just mine, but Deep's life. I'm always proud to call you a mentor and a friend. You're the first client we ever had as business partners on what's been an incredible 4 years for us. And I can't thank you enough for all the lessons along the way.
Well, thank you so much. I'm glad, and continue success. And you guys shine the light, man. You shine it. I'm really proud of you guys, because this is the stuff that makes me happy, is when people succeed, because success breeds success and it just comes around. It's just recycled energy. So I'm super proud of you guys.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Good job, buddy.
See you in Miami.
Yes, man.
Let's go.
Welcome to Miami.